Hi guys, in this video we'll start building our view for the send mail option. So let's go ahead and fire up the homestead. Once it's up and running, we'll jump right into the code in Sublime Text. So one of the things we did last time was we created let's take a look at the rug. We register our resourceful controller, which is mail controller, and we registered for a key mail. Now if we open this controller, we've got a bunch of methods here which we're going to start working on. So essentially what we want to do is let's just create a constructor that everyone can access this functionality. So we'll call it public function and this middleware guest, so everyone can actually everyone can this middleware. The next thing I'm going to do is basically we want this controller to serve a view. Let me open up the browser. So we go Laravel mailer-app.app, and that should fire up our home view, which is right here. So just give me a second. Place this here, and here. So when we click this button send mail, it should take us to it should fire the specific method of the mail controller, so we can see which presents us with a view where we can send an email. And how, so we're gonna fire this here, send mail. How can we do this? I'm trying to think a little bit. Essentially what we do is let's just create a separate control maybe, or at the moment I'm just going to work on send mail functionality. So let's change this key to send mail, and we're going to register this controller, mail controller. That way if we can hit this route, and we'll come back to fix this in a second on one of the next videos. So essentially what we want to do is return a view. Again, we're going to use the same folder, which is the mail folder, and we're going to say send new email dot just send new email is going to be the name of the view. And the next step is to create this view. We'll go in the resources folder, views, mail, and here we're going to create a new file called send new email dot blade.php. Essentially this file is actually going to be extending our base file, which is the welcome.blade. Yeah, so we're going to extend this, extends welcome, and the same blade templating engine variable at the section content and at the section stop. With that in mind, we're gonna start with some bootstrap here. So what we want to do essentially is let's just give it a title on the top. The title is going to be mailer app, Laravel mailer app, same as in the last view. Let's just give it a text center. And what we're trying to do here essentially is, if you click now, it says not found. The page you're looking is not found. The reason is, in our home view we have given mail control at index. That's where this button takes to, mail control at index. So instead of that, we can say, let's just get rid of that, and we can say route send mail, and hopefully this will give us the right. So route send mail has not been defined, and reason for that is route resource mail controller send mail is the key. And if we go back to our cd code cd Laravel mailer app, and try to see our routes for a second. So sendmail has sendmail.index, and then it will fire the index method. That's the get route. So sendmail.index. The name of the route is this. However, the URI is this, which is good. So what we'll do here is, it looks good to me. I'm not sure what's going on here. Maybe I should just save all the files and try again. This middleware guest. So here I made a mistake. I forgot to put a C, and that's why the color is a little bit different. Hopefully the class will register. No. Looks like there's a problem. So route send mail not defined in home.play. Sorry. There's a route send mail action mail controller at index, mail controller at index. What is it that it doesn't like? I'm trying to understand. What is it that you don't like? You've got a route here. You can use a named route if you want. Sendmail.index. So named route seems to be working. Sendmail.index, that's the route. There could have been some changes in the Laravel 5 structure and how it fires the routing. I've just recently upgraded to this. So that's the sendmail, the key. So as we see in our route list here, we've got sendmail key, and the get request goes to sendmail, and it serves sendmail.index named route, which fires mail controller's index method. That's what we're gonna be firing. So we'll come back to looking at other options, why it doesn't like sendmail.in, why it doesn't like the the direct route, which is sendmail, and why it doesn't like the firing the action method. It looks like it likes, but as it's not complaining for those buttons. But we just want to make a rapid prototype, so we'll continue building and rather stopping here. So route sendmail.index, the named route seems to be working. That's fine. So when we go here, we click it, it takes us to this page, which essentially we're trying to construct right now. So let's just close this view, and over here, let's just give it a little bit of margin. Let's just say 100 pixels should be good to go, and 100 pixels brings it in a reasonably readable area. That's fine. Now what essentially we want to do is we want to give someone an opportunity to write the email address, so they can punch in an email address, they can punch in the subject of the email, and they can also write the body of the email. and then we want to give a button, send an email. So essentially we need a form that has all these input fields. So how can we do this effectively? Let's just start with the form here right inside. Here we can create a new div. And let's just move this inside the, and here let's start with a form that so let's just say BS3 form. That's a good form. We'll just leave it to that now for now. And let's fire this to submit this request to, let's just say, route sendmail.store. Method will be post and form horizontal, rest is bootstrap classes. And the legend, we can say the legend is send an email to everyone. And let's not forget about punching in, and let's give an input field here, and we're going to call it inputs hidden. I don't know if we have input hidden. Looks like no. So input type hidden. We're going to have to pass in the value of our CSRF token, which is essential for Laravel to function, because it checks for all the cross-site request forgeries by creating a token for us, which gets verified as the form is submitted, that it's coming from our side or not. It gets verified on the server side. So it's important for our security, and it's how Laravel has a standard that it has to be named _token, and the value of the token has to be echoed right here. So that's how we use it. That's how it works. And we can style this a little bit. Let's just give it a color, hash, and let's see what it looks like. Undefined function routes Laravel. Again, we have a problem at line number 10, as you can see here, and that's because I've given a name route. I made a mistake. It's not routes, it's actually route. Save it, hit it, and it's good. So looks like that's how it looks like, which is not too bad. There's a, if you go to inspect element, you can see that right here somewhere there is so this is our value for I don't know if you can see or not, but there is our value, which is a long 32-bit hexadecimal value. It's some kind of a hash, I think. Yeah, which is stored on the server side, same as our cookie or sessions, server side sessions or server side cookies. Yeah, the next thing is we need an input field for creating. Let's just copy this, and here. So we're gonna copy the form group and we're gonna get rid of this. So let's get a label. The label for, let's say, email, and we're gonna call it what do you want to, sending to who is better. and then we're going to give an input field. Input type is going to be email, and the name is going to be email, and the value, we can create a value based upon the old value. So if the form fails, we're gonna bring the old value back to the user. If the value is wrong, that's fine. If someone has been missed out, so we're gonna run a form request. We're gonna check the form using the form request, what fields are required, and based upon that, we're gonna test the form input. And if it's not, after validation, if it doesn't pass, we're gonna send the user back to the form, and we're gonna punch in the values he has punched. He's trying to send us through. We're gonna store those values in the memory and bring it and fill the form up for him, because otherwise form is going to be blank if we bring the user back to the form. So it's our job to retain the values whatever he types. And let's give the class of form control and let's just give it a placeholder, which is going to be holder. Type an email address, and I think that's good to go. And let's copy this, paste it. So label for, we're gonna change this to subject, and let's just copy this and change input type is going to be text. The subject is just a string, name is subject, input old value subject, and type a subject. And here also we can say subject, just make the S big so it looks pretty. And then again go here, and this is going to be the body of the message, so just call it message. And here message, input type text, message, name is message, and old message variable, and type your message. Essentially this is going to be a text area, so we can do like this and make sure to end the text area. And there's no type for text area. Text area has rows and columns. How about we give some rows and columns? Let's say 5 rows and 10 columns should look good, or 20 columns. And I think we need an ID as well, because we might be able to use it, and that should be good to go. Save it up, go back here, refresh, and see what you get. So class input not found, that's good, because we don't have input facade in Laravel, the new version of Laravel. So if you go to here, app, you go to config, app, and you go down here, you'll see that there's no input, there's no facade called input. So how about we go here and we add input facade, and we need to find out what is the full path for this. Essentially all the facades are located in the same directory, so if you just copy this thing and paste it and just change it to input, it should work itself. But you need to also reference this class in your view. So there's no way to reference the class in the view, because Blade templating engine just separates the HTML from PHP. I mean, it tries to as far as possible. So keeping that convention the same, you can reference it here, it'll work perfectly fine, but that's just wrong. So you have to reference it in the class that's calling the view. So this is the class that's calling this view, so you have to reference it here. So I'm just going to say use input, and hopefully it won't complain too much this time. And it doesn't. So it looks like it has accepted our command. So it's Laravel mailer app, send an email to anyone, sending to who, what's the subject, and what's the body. And there's a submit button. Don't worry about this button being offset a little bit, because we can always fix it really quickly. Get rid of this and hopefully this time it'll be aligned correctly. Now there's one thing that I wanted to discuss with you guys, which is in this video we just managed to create this form. We haven't really incorporated so many different things, which we're gonna start looking at in the future. One of the next videos is we have to create a text editor, for a web text editor for this form, so whatever content, HTML5 content we're trying to send can be manipulated. The subject is fine, the email address is fine, but then again we have to still run a check whether it's a valid email address, whether it's not some kind of malicious code. So in the next video we'll create the form request and try to verify our input and dump some session errors or some of the notifications if it is not valid, or if it is valid we'll also try to display a success message. And then we'll build our mailing functionality, and then we'll come back to building this web text editor so we can edit the format. And once we are able to format the content, we want to create a template for sending an email. It'll be called some kind of email template, because that basic template will have some sizing, it'll have some CSS, it'll have some rules for different devices like Android, iPhone, and web and tablets. Because some of the links look very different on Android, and some of the links look very different on iPhone. So HTML5 is standard for the web, but other devices they support HTML5, but then again how much they support you'll find out when you actually send an HTML5 email. So there is a little bit of tweak. Sometimes there's a few tips and tricks. So we'll look at building at those email templates, and then we'll fire some emails and see how they look like, and that'll be the end of this project. So thanks for watching. Make sure to give thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.